Welcome to the Brady Marcs Podcast with your host Brady Yoshia from Brady Marcs Buyers Advisory. Enjoy discussions with a variety of guests and pioneers from diverse backgrounds, each sharing their unique perspectives on property, business, industry and more.
Not only find beautiful homes for people that immigrate to Australia and also the locals as well, if there's local people that come into your properties, but you find schools. What else? How much further will you go for a client?
Okay, I think, just imagine, you're migrants as well to this country. When you come here, what do you need? Almost like everything. So you become, hopefully you found a trusted advisor to advise you how to live, how to live in this country, right? So you're luckily from
South Africa.
You speak English, right?
Yes.
Well, these people don't even speak English like me, right? So first of all, so if you need some help in the language, so we're here to help you. If you want to find, from best restaurants, okay, to I want to give back to the community, right? How am I going to do that? So just give you a quick example. I was called this morning by Ascom School, in eastern suburbs. They found a lot of like new parents are challenging to come to be in the community. So how can I help them? So I've become ambassador for Ascom after all these years. My daughter left about 8 years ago. It's such a privilege to go there to help the new parents to understand school systems. Because in China, we don't have to help with the barbecues. You don't have to go to Saturday sport and provide all the service like servicing other parents or kids. This is so new to them. So I'm here to help them to understand. Okay, this is different. It's a new country.
Yes,
and this is no good and bad. It's just for you to know. So if you want to be involved in your children's school life, that's how you want to do. Okay, that's what I do. And if you want a love arts, for example, I'm a big philanthropist in the art community. If you want to love the arts, so who is the most recognizable like an artist, right? How can you get involved in that? How can you appreciate Australian arts? So this is what I do as well.
Yes.
So a concierge not just carry the bags. So we're joking. They don't need me to pick up from the airport. But if you need, there's a limousine where we can call to pick you up. But much higher level of a concierge, much higher level, the level you cannot even believe. So I'm in a committee for Good Dinner Committee for Children's Hospital Foundation, raised $19.2 million. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So again, I have an Asian giving back circle as well. So they understand, okay, I'm here. I want to be part of it. So it's not because of my children's sake I can take benefit from what, but I'm here to help other children as well. Yeah. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So you have your love for work and you have your love for the community.
Yes.
It's so remarkable.
You and I know exactly what to look for when we're walking through a property. And quite often we walk through a property and we'll notice something that a normal buyer wouldn't. They get carried away with their emotions. So having this service, allowing them to be empowered, makes such a big difference and gives them the confidence that they're not going to make a mistake.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power. And when it comes to navigating the property market, it's about having good, solid advice, not about listening to what your neighbour's cousin's hairdresser says about the market, because everyone's journey is different and everybody's needs are different as well.
And everyone's an expert.
Everybody's an expert when it comes to the property market.
Especially when you're at a family barbecue, everyone will know exactly, will say this is the best place, this is what you got to do, and it can become quite confusing for the general buyer. Yeah. So I think that if everyone, as we always say, runs their own race and has one person to get their advice from, it makes it so much easier.
Especially when the advice is tailored to your own personal circumstances. So what might work for one person and where their property journey goes is not necessarily going to work for the others. It doesn't take into account your financial position, doesn't take into account how long you plan on owning the property for, whether you're going to live in it, whether it's going to be investment property. So if your friend bought a property and what worked for them is not necessarily what's going to be best for you. So it's important to have a professional by your side that you can get trusted advice from.
Trusted advice is the key.
It is.
So for people that are considering to sign up to the mentorship program but are unsure, what would your advice be to them?
So have a look around the Brady Marcs website. You'll be able to see the years of experience and also a little bit about the team and how we work. The Brady Marcs mentorship program really is the opportunity to engage with members of the team, ask questions, have somebody by your side without I guess the financial barrier that some people might experience with our full service fees.
So I just want to understand the service is for anyone. It's not just for a first home buyer. Even a seasoned investor could utilise the service. Is that right?
Absolutely. So it's specifically designed to be flexible to meet the needs of the buyer. So while first home buyers can get a lot out of it, there's a lot of new knowledge there, a lot of new skills and tricks. An investor might also get just as much out of it because they may have bought a property in a certain area or they may have bought something 5 years ago, but we both know the market changes very quickly. So understanding what the current market is doing and also how to navigate the challenges really does give them the edge over the competition.
I want to sign up myself. Since you've been in the industry for so long, can you share an entertaining story with the listeners?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I mean, you and I know that we find ourselves in lots of interesting situations, especially dealing with lots of different people. In my property management years, probably there was a few things that stick out. But I think one of the most recent scenarios last year, looking at a property with some of my clients, all of the occupants were actually home at the time of the open for inspection, but they were actually in their beds hiding under the covers. So it was a little bit strange. They were fine, by the way, but it was just a bit awkward, but also a bit funny.
I'm sure you didn't feel comfortable going through that
No,
one.
it felt a little bit like we're invading their privacy.
So it can be quite an exciting job as well as an awkward one.
Yes, there's funny moments, there's awkward moments, because at the end of the day, like we said, we're dealing with people and everybody has their different motivations, their different experiences, different emotions. So it can make things unpredictable.
That's the beauty about real estate.
Never a dull moment.
No. We have had some great experience with our clients. However, I'm sure it comes with some pitfalls as well. So what are the benefits and pitfalls of buying a property in a self-managed super fund?
I think the biggest benefit with buying a property in a self-managed super fund in terms of, why clients come to me is that having a self-managed super fund, especially if they're borrowing, it creates another borrowing capacity. So a lot of clients may already have an investment property outside super. They might have a couple. But based on your salary, you get to a point where you just can't borrow anymore until you I guess, reduce some of those loans. So by utilising your superannuation in a self-managed super fund and using the power of leveraging, the self-managed super fund being its own independent legal entity can borrow. So you just create this new borrowing capacity, which allows you to then build your portfolio again.
So that's completely separate to your personal debts that you have and your personal situation.
Correct. So that's one of the big advantages. Obviously, having a self-managed super fund gives you a lot of control over your super, a lot of choice, a lot of flexibility, a lot more than having an industry fund does. But I think the main driver of getting into property in a self-managed super fund is to utilise that additional borrowing capacity. There are a lot of other advantages of a self-managed super fund, but that would be probably the biggest one that really allows people to really build that property portfolio for them. The pitfalls about having a self-managed super fund is that it's not just a set and forget like an industry fund. You need to have some advisors, you need to have a good accountant or a financial planner that can just help you through that education process in the first couple of years, because there's a bit more record keeping that is required. But I guess it's like the very first year of doing your tax return. You don't know what you're doing that first year, but once you're taught, you know what you need to keep for the following year. So it's that sort of, I guess, that concept in that you need to be educated and take a little bit more interest in what's happening. And the ATO also expects you have a little bit more of a knowledge of what's happening in your fund, and that's why you rely on your advisor to have those discussions and those conversations so you meet your obligations as a trustee of your own super.
So it's very important to have the right advisor.
Yes.
And they
yes.
know what they're doing.
Yes, it is. It's look, it is a sophisticated structure, but there's no reason why it's not readily available to anyone that has a decent balance to be able to start a self-managed super fund. So with that advice and with that holding your hand through that process, there's no reason why the average person can't have a self-managed super fund with an additional property in there.
So for the listeners out there, if they're thinking about getting started in setting out a self-managed super fund, are there any guidelines specifically that you think will? And I think the important thing there to understand for the listeners out there is that it's okay to make mistakes along the way, and it's okay to not feel quite right. But when you are in the right space, like you say, in your 40s, it's going to flow.
Absolutely.
And you're going to excel, and you're going to be passionate, even more passionate than when you were when you started. So there's a lot of life lessons in our talk today. I think that the listeners will be able to take a lot away from this. One of the things I know about you is that your energy is incredible and contagious, especially during auctions. How do you keep your energy levels so high?
Everyone always talks about my high energy. My daughter calls me high functioning, which I really love. I don't do coffee, which is a little thing that nobody knows about me. I'm a huge tea drinker. I don't use caffeine, so I think my natural energy is there. But I also think my energy has been there along the way throughout my career. But since I've stepped into my 40s and I've stepped into my power, I talk a lot about this as women stepping into their power and owning their career and their moment and their life. Since I have stepped into my power in these last couple of years and become an auctioneer, as I've always wanted to become, my energy definitely has increased because I love what I do. And I'm very passionate about calling auctions. And so I think I'm probably the happiest auctioneer in Sydney, if not Australia.
So you're not taking Barocca in the morning?
There's no supplements. There's no caffeine. It's just all natural, all me.
So what strategies do you have to keep yourself motivated?
I'm pretty ambitious, as I said before. As a female in this space, and you've talked about this before with Clarence when he was on your podcast, that there's not a large number of female auctioneers. I quite enjoy paving the way and being a little bit of inspiration to some of the younger women out there that think, I think I could do that, because that was me. And when I approached my, bosses or mentors or colleagues and said, you know what, I think I can do that, often it was not encouraged. And so I feel me putting myself in this space and shining and becoming a better auctioneer every day, I'm hoping that inspires people. So that's one of my things that kind of gets me motivated and pushes me forward, is that I want to be the best at this. And I hope that there's women around that think I could also do that.
Well, you certainly shine through. Are you seeing more females wanting to come into that space?
Absolutely. We saw each other at Wire a few weeks ago, months ago now. God, I don't even remember what it was.
In March.
In March.
We're now in May, end of May.
Exactly. I had so many women come up to me afterwards, after I spoke at the event, saying, I would have loved to become an auctioneer. And I think that is something that's quite powerful, where they thought that they'd like to do it, but they didn't have the space to kind of grow in it. And so, definitely I want to see more women stepping up saying, I think I could be really good at that. It's just a matter of time and hopefully people around them encouraging them and training them and pushing them in the right direction, and having a great mentor.
Yes.
Yeah, having
That's
a great
very
mentor.
Important.
Yeah.
Yes. So as we talk about the industry coming with hurdles, and particularly being a female, whether you're so for a first home buyer looking to come into the market that's a little bit overwhelmed, they don't know what they should be looking for, what would your advice be to them?
Talk to as many people as you possibly can. Talk to lots of real estate agents. And find some ones out there that you trust and that you can get some really, really good advice from. Speak to brokers, get really good contacts there as well if you can. Speak to family, friends. I guess go to open homes, look around, meet people. Try and just do as much research as you possibly can. and connect. I mean, again, like available. Like if anyone wants to talk about, what they should look out for, or some good areas to buy, because a lot of people, it's kind of like, this is what we want, but we're not really sure how to go about it or where to look. So I think probably try and just talk to as many people as you can.
Yeah, we say that all the time. Do your research, because quite often what you think you want is very different to what is right for you.
Agreed.
And also there's so many other suburbs out there that offer great lifestyles and can fit in with your budget. So it is about doing the research and speaking to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So you've had your own investment property journey as well.
Yes.
Is there anything you want to share with the listeners? It could be tips, could be stories.
What not to do.
Yeah, what not to do.
Well, look, it's a good little flow on from what you were saying before. Don't beat yourself up if you make the wrong move in your journey. My husband and I bought an investment property in an area which we thought was going to be good to invest in, and it became the worst investment that we possibly could have made. And it was okay. We just had to change strategy for a little while. But don't beat yourself up if you make a mistake. I think just dive in. Do your research first, obviously.
Yes.
Get some really good buyer's agents on your side and do your research. But if you make a mistake, if you invest somewhere that isn't performing, if you buy somewhere and you don't like the location, it's okay. We recovered from that. We ended up kind of getting to where we are quite quickly in the last couple of years. So you can still do it. I think just, if you make a mistake, just pick up and keep going.
Yeah. Learn from your mistakes.
Yes,
Don't
learn
beat yourself
from
up.
them. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think that's the key there.
Yeah.
It is so impressive that your law practice runs smoothly without you physically being there. Could you share with us what strategies or systems that you have in place to make it run so smoothly?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. First of all, for anyone listening to this, having a self-managing business or a self-executing business or a self-operating business starts with you as a leader. It really is about understanding, where do I want to be in this business? And for some people, it may not be what they want. It might be that they really enjoy doing the work and they want to be involved in that. But the way that I see business is, for me, it's freedom. It's about giving me the freedom of the life that I choose to have, and freedom of financial freedom of my purpose, freedom of relationships, and just freedom all around to live a healthy, wholesome life. So around the period of 2020, 2021, I definitely got to a point where I burnt out, to be honest. And so that, again, pain propels me to action. So the action for me was to start to think very carefully about who's around me and who can I empower and educate for these people who were in my team at that time and still are actually, to take over. For me to delegate more, to take over roles and responsibilities that I had sort of outgrown by this point in my time. So how do we do it, and what's really important? Well, first of all, what's really important is my mindset, trusting that this is possible, number one, knowing it's possible, and then having the time, the energy, and the genuine commitment to invest in another human being. Because at the end of the day, really, my role is to empower, to educate, and to elevate other people. And as I think all leaders, if we really want to be serious about leadership, it's not an ego trip. It really isn't. It's a service to others. It doesn't mean, though, that you neglect yourself, because leadership does require a lot of self-care and self-preservation. So that's where I'd say one of the biggest things I had to learn was to let go and to put in systems and processes which are not controlling, not at all, but what they do is that they give guidance of how the business operates. And there are certain ideals that I have about how I want my business to be. My family law practice, it's clients first. We've got very strong, healthy values in the business, and we live and breathe those values. So essentially it was just about finding a way to be able to implement that and allow that to be executed by other people.
Yes. So the key is letting go, having the right people around you that are passionate and have the same vision.
Yeah, totally. You need to have that. But it's also not just letting go and forgetting about people. It's about continuing being available to them and nurturing them. So it's really about creating for them a safe space, a psychologically safe space, so that they can also be the best version of themselves.
That's the key.
Yeah, it really is.
I love that.
No, it really, really is. It's needing to understand as a leader that I've got some strengths, but I don't have all the strengths. So, and there are wonderful, beautiful people on the planet who can do things far better than I can. Yeah. And I think that's the wisdom of leadership as well. It's, letting go.
And taking the ego out of the equation.
There's no ego. There's no such, ego for me is destructive. It's fear-driven. Often when we're living through ego, it's very much a fear-driven experience. If you dig deep, 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 there's a lot of fear about identity, what I look like, loss of my reputation, or whatever that ego, wherever it stems from. But fundamentally at its core, it's fear-driven. Yes. And for me, someone who's a genuine leader is not driven by fear. They're driven by purpose, they're driven by passion, they're driven by wanting to see better in the world.
And wanting to see other people do better
100%.
than them. So what would you say that elite top real estate professionals do to keep their loyal audience online? What is it?
Consistency. It takes commitment to start. It takes consistency to finish. Like, I'll often have this and I'll really see, like, what's the difference in a high performer? I got asked this question really differently. I said, well, that's easy. Consistency. Day in and day out to do the same task and remain consistent at it. I mean, the world we live in at the moment is a little bit instant gratification. We all it's probably why, like, quitting sugar is so hard because it's right in front of us all the time. Or, the world we want, we can always access things really quickly. Yeah. We can get a hold of things really quickly. And so the world we live in is always like instant gratification. Like, service is such a huge challenge for many businesses now because everybody expects things on demand, right? Like, we talk about this new arena of the digital, I don't even know what the law is called, but the right to disconnect. It's like, can you imagine a real estate agent writing to their vendor, or you as a buyer's agent writing to your vendor saying, oh, sorry, it's after 5 p.m, so I have the right to disconnect today and I will not be taking it. Like, that's never going to happen.
Not
right?
in our arena.
No way. I would actually love to see one of my clients write that. But when we go back to that question of high performance, it's hard to run at that level all the time.
Yes.
It's hard to be available for people all the time. And if we're looking at somebody in the digital space, it often becomes the last task, right? But those that do it phenomenally well. And a lot of people, like, if we look at them, and I'm so proud to call these people my friends, if not clients, is, we look at someone like Lisa Novak. Well, she totally transformed her brand, and I'm sure Lisa'd be fine me saying this, but she copped a lot of people and feedback and people telling her she's terrible. I've sat with her in Double Bay in a random walk up to the street and be like, I watch all your social media, you're amazing, So the first one is that commitment. She just kept on going. Like Maddie Steinwade, you will see a video loaded with him every 3 days, This instant thing of, I'm going to build a brand overnight. It's not going to happen.
No.
So it's always that commitment to start and consistency to finish. And also I think the real thing here is understanding that you will, if you ever going to put yourself out there and try to build, whether it's a personal brand or a business brand, the world of digital warriors, they're always going to be there. You know what I mean? You're always, I think there's some of the comments I've read about me. I mean, I personally laugh at them because I've had to deal with like grow thick skin, but people will always take a stab. And I think that's where a lot of people get fearful of. It doesn't happen rapidly. Oh no, this person, or it's like self-doubt. Like, I don't look good in that photo. Well, nobody's looking at it that closely, mate. Only you,
I'm guilty of that. I have to say, my team will tell you that I'll look at a photo and say, definitely not. That's not going up.
If any of you put bad photos of me online, you're all dead. Just after saying that, authenticity. No, I'm kidding. But it is. Like, and I work with the clients and I manage personal brands, right? And I manage their brand in their market and I will add all prongs of it. So I'll look at that photo and I'll genuinely be like, no, you look good in that. And they'll be like, no, I look terrible. And I'll be like, no, you look fine. So that perfectionism, does that make sense? Or that fear of what other people think stops that.
Yeah.
And so if you get over that and you get consistent
and you stop expecting it to be an instant result. And the last thing I will say, invest some money into it, because nobody likes to hear that. But as I said, unless we want to go down the path of the nude, you need to invest in it, because otherwise you're not going to have that formula. You know, you're going to put out a lack of inconsistency. It's not going to happen because you're not consistent in it. There's not a resonating brand message constantly going out. It's a lack of sense of self. It's a fake self. Nobody wants to follow that. And, you know, you've got to amplify that message through paying for it. The one other tip that I'll give you there is, and this is where a lot of businesses go wrong, whether you're a real estate agent or not, people follow people on social media. People don't follow businesses. So it's about people connecting with people. Like Facebook's major mission, if you go back to the real hindsight of it, is to connect people. Mark Zuckerberg's ideology is to connect people across the world. It's all about connecting people. And so you'll see a lot of business owners really fight this challenge of, I'm trying to connect business. Like, it's not about that. It's a personal brand. And a really simple way of me answering that question is, if I run an ad from an agency profile versus a personal profile, you're always going to get a lot more from the personal profile, because people will communicate with people. Does that make sense?
Resonate with people, more so with the brand.
Yeah.
Tom, if you could go back and give young Tom Panos one piece of advice before embarking on his real estate journey, what would that be?
Don't chop and change. Get in line, stay in line. There's no shortcuts. That would be one of the major ones. And the second one would be, you want to have a long-term sustainable life. It's fine to lose a deal here or there if it's the right thing to do, because you'll feel better, and you'll also commercially find that you'll do better off, because that person is going to go off and say to the 500 people that they know, he's different.
Yeah, word of mouth.
He's different. He's different. He doesn't have commission breath. He was actually put my interest ahead of his. And that takes a lot of courage. I mean, if you think about it, our industry has a bad name because fundamentally people care more about themselves than their clients.
Very true.
It's true. Now, this is my favourite question. Tom, you wear so many hats: dad, mentor, coach, auctioneer. How do you have a work-life balance?
So I have to pay a price, but the first thing is I'm a work-life integrator. I'm not a work-life segmenter. A work-life integrator integrates work and personal life. That basically means I will go to my daughter's gymnastics thing, but I'll have my mobile phone and not feel guilty about texting while I'm watching her.
Yeah.
Right? I'm the sort of person that I will go home and I don't take my clothes off and say, that's it, work's done, I'm watching the news, I don't want to think of, you know how a fireman goes home and has his shower, that's it, I don't want to know about work, right? I'm not like that. To me, they integrate. You're at the swimming carnival with your family, but you leave the carnival and you go do a deal. You're on holidays in Byron or in Greece. So when I'm in Europe, so I went to Europe twice this year, right? So 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. their time, I wake up and I work. That's 5 hours work. That's it. That's like being here 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., right? Because of the time difference. So, I'm a work-life integrator, not a work-life segmenter. And then the second thing is I don't have a big social life. So something's got to give, right? So something's got to give, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, I have to be in bed by 8:30 at night.
Yeah.
You know, because if I'm in bed at 8:30 at night,
You wake up early.
I can wake up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And to me, 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning is a far more usable, lovable, beautiful time than, 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning, right? It's not who I am now, you know.
And where did the vision come from? Or I should say, what is your vision for the business?
So my time in real estate, we worked with a lot of downsizers, and so it was sort of seeing a big gap in the market of the logistics of what it is to prep your house for sale and to move. And my experience of moving house myself, I sort of looked at the process and go, this is very simple to me, and I just you do X, Y, Z, and then it's done. And so to step into that space and going, actually, there's a lot of wisdom, not only wisdom, but practical hands-on help that can be offered here. So definitely when the business started, the heart was for that downsizer, that older client that needed the assistance. And then it's definitely developed and grown into anyone moving house, into investors, deceased estates, time-poor families. So it's definitely expanded and grown. But I'd say, the ultimate vision is to simplify that process. Like one of our taglines is the stressful made simple. And I think the moving process can be enjoyable. Even if the reasons for the move are negative, I think it can still be a very cathartic process and healing in a way. Yeah, so
there's a lot of positives that come out with using your services.
Absolutely.
So somebody's looking to move out of their home. They haven't even thought about decluttering, and they know that they've got to declutter, but not only declutter, get rid of some of the contents. Now, some things are valuable and some things are not. And then the next step comes to the packing, et cetera, et cetera. Yes. And I know there's another step in between, which is getting the house ready for sale. So how do you work with clients that have got this massive home filled with contents from the last 30 years? What's the process?
Yep. So we go into a home and we're always providing that sort of initial consultation where we're looking at what do they need for the whole process. So we'll often break up that quote into a few because it's too hard to quote the move when we're all the way at the start and we don't know how much they're going to get rid of, and there's just so much there. And so it's sending a team in and figuring out, okay, what needs to stay for the campaign? Is there a stylist involved? Working with them, what would they like to keep? And then what, as far as things that need to go, it's going, is it valuable? Where is it valuable? Is it an auction house item? Is it something, we can sell online? And then we're sort of moving down the tiers of, okay, if it can't be sold, can someone else enjoy it? So then we're going to women's shelters, a few charities that we work with, and basically trying to give anything a life that we can because we just hate to see waste. And so we're trying to eliminate as much of that as possible. And then if we can't find a home for it in that capacity, we're seeing, can it be recycled? Where can it be recycled properly? And then at the end of the day, there's hopefully, if we've gone through all those levels, what goes into tip is as little as possible. And then, it's working with the other trades to get their home ready for sale, helping once they're on the market. It sort of rolls, one thing rolls into the next, and I could just keep going. But that's the initial process at the top.